Radio.
And on tunein.com, ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Inspiration, brave action, and heartwarming journeys. This is what the Louise H. Reed Show brings you. Now, here's your host, Louise H. Reed.
Hello, friends. And thank you for joining me once again this wonderful Tuesday. I am your host, Louise H. Reed, with listeners in over 145 countries and millions of iTunes downloads and ongoing podcasts each month. I'm the fortunate host here every Tuesday at this time to look into the lives of everyday people doing extraordinary things. People who, like our guest today, take brave, bold action in pursuit of their dreams and goals and are here to share their journey and learnings to help you do the same in yours. Before we start, I'd like to thank you for joining me each and every week, and that provides me the opportunity to share and grow with you. There's nothing more valuable than time, so I'm honored that you're sharing yours with me. And to show my gratitude, I'm starting a monthly giveaway. Who doesn't like prizes and cool kick-ass prizes? So anyone who likes or comments on a podcast episode, likes or comments on the live Facebook feed will be entered into a monthly draw for a prize. So comment, friends, and like away. Now I'd like to tell you a little bit about today's amazing guest. Michelle Osbourne is a communication specialist, an adult educator, a multidisciplinary speaker, and best of all, a queer mom. She's here with us today to share her story of her journey of reinvention at the age of 39, the new partner she found at 40, a new home that she found and established at 41, how she became a first-time mom at 42, and how she started and embarked on a new career at 43. Michelle admits it's been a bittersweet whirlwind adventure and that she's just getting started. Today's talk promises to be raw, vulnerable, and hilarious. Who doesn't want a little dose of that today? So welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hello. Oh my God, that intro was so good. Good, Louise. Good job. I love that.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks. I am so excited. I feel like I start every show this way, but it's true. Everyone knows this is my favorite hour of the week, and I'm so truly honored and blessed that you are here today, sharing your time with me and sharing your time with my listeners. There's so much to explore here. There's so much to explore. And I wanted just maybe to start with, why now, at this stage of your life? I think last time we spoke, I made a comment like this. I feel like I'm talking like I'm on my deathbed at this stage of our life. You feel compelled to share your story. What is it that is in you right now that made you start to say, you know what, people need to hear about this?
Well, I think one of the things is it's hard to share a story like this when you're like your 20s. You have to go through it to share this story, first of all. And me reinventing myself came when I decided that I didn't want to live the life I was living, and I had one life so long. And so many women who were in the same business who wanted to change but felt trapped. And 40 is like that age of where you shit or get off the pot. That you have that feeling, right? And so I decided that I was going to start to make change, and I did it little by little by little. But you know, my story is not original. I just have a big mouth, so I'm talking about it. But there's a lot of women who I think resonate with me.
Yeah.
And why not now?
Why not now? There's so much already with what you said that resonates with me. The whole 40 thing, it's really quite interesting and almost sad. There's a whole range of emotions that I feel when, you know, you made that comment, because that was me at 40. That's when I reinvented my life. And it's partly what's compelled me to be helping the women that I help in my coaching, is because I see so many women at that stage, sort of sleepwalking through life.
Oh my gosh, sleepwalking, yes, yeah.
And that's the video. I posted a video last night on Facebook it was a Mazda video. It was a Mazda commercial.
I know, and it got me in the gut. Like, it really got me in the gut when you posted it. That's why I had to comment on it.
Yeah, and so I encourage you listeners to please check out my Facebook page, or just look up on YouTube, Mazda. It's a new Mazda commercial.
Yeah.
And it really is about that, why not now? And so I see so many women, like you have just said, living that kind of life, sleepwalking or on the treadmill of life. And so you, and I appreciate as well that you said it was little by little. It's easy to look at people who've reinvented themselves and think, I can't do that. Mm-hmm. Well, no, you can't do that overnight, but we didn't get here overnight either.
No.
So why don't you take us on a little bit of a journey and tell us how that started for you? Because you mentioned already that you knew for a while that things weren't feeling right, that things were unsettled, that you wanted change. What made you make that first change?
Well, it kind of all came about when I was about 38, 39-ish. My relationship with my ex-partner was ending and it was in the shits, and I was pushed to move on. I should have moved on, just like so many other people, a long time before it happened, but I didn't have the courage to move on. And so I was forced to move on. I don't love you anymore. Here's your walking papers. Goodbye. So I was left thinking, I'm this middle-aged woman and I don't want to restart again. And so I said, instead of being a victim, I'm going to be victorious. And I said, I'm going to start this blog about my journey of how I came out of this. The blog was called 40 by 40, and it was doing 40 things by the time I turned 40. I started it at 39. And as I ticked things off my list, I realized that the blog was much bigger than me. It was teaching me things that I had never thought of. It took me out of my comfort zone. It challenged me in ways that I couldn't believe. And at the end of it, it gave me the courage to start to reinvent myself, which means traveling on my own, doing things that made me feel uncomfortable. Because I think when you do those things that make you feel uncomfortable, that's when you grow. When you're in your comfortable zone, you don't grow there. You grow with the unknown and you grow with the uncomfortable. And so at the age of 40, I just started doing things bit by bit that made me feel uncomfortable, especially traveling. It's one of the best things a woman can do for themselves is to travel on their own. Because when you travel with your friends or your family, you have that safety net, right? You have people to hang out with. You don't want to be at the bar by yourself. You don't want to feel lonely. But when you travel on your own, you are forced to say, hey, where are you from? What do you do? Oh, that's really great. And meet other people because you're on your own. Now, if you want to go because you don't want to talk to anybody, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, well, it's a different kind of vacation. Yeah.
Well, it is. And it's really surprising what can come out of doing things on your own and specifically traveling on your own. So I have like a list of 6 things that made me start the reinvention process, and it's helping me continue this reinvention process.
What are some of those things on that list?
First of all, embracing minimalism, because when I got rid of the crap that I did not need. So I live in Quebec City right now, and you know that, Louise. I'm from Toronto, and in Toronto, in a big city, you feel like you need lots of stuff because you feel like you're competing.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah.
In corporate, you feel like you have to have different outfits and bag. I had so much stuff that I would literally go shopping probably every weekend to feel like I had to keep up. And so once I got rid of the stuff that no longer served purpose in my life, I literally got rid of 90% of my stuff and starting living really simple. All the good things came into my life. And then the second thing was learning emotional intelligence. When I was younger, I was the type of person to fly off the handle really quickly, and said some things and did some things that I was not proud of. And then I went to this conference and I learned about emotional intelligence. I never had heard of it before. And it has changed my life professionally and personally. Learning how to control your emotions and how to respond. I always give myself the 24-hour rule, okay? When I want to tell someone to F off, I give myself the 24-hour rule. And it usually takes me back to really think about the situation. Is it worth being mad over? Or if there's something wrong, how will you respond in an appropriate way that will not ruin your relationship with that person? Right. Doing things on your own is a huge, huge thing. A lot of things that women don't want to do, but people don't want to do in general. I shouldn't just say women, but people don't want to do. They don't like traveling or doing things on their own because they feel like they're, on the loser, or those one sitting by themselves at the table at a restaurant. Oh, it's wonderful. Move, sometimes people don't like where they live, but they feel nervous to move to a different location because they're comfortable. And if you can, I highly recommend moving somewhere where nobody knows you. It's the best way to reinvent yourself because nobody knows you. Experiment sexually. Oh, this is my fun one.
Go for it. Tell us this one. I told you this was going to be juicy. Give it to us, Michelle.
I tell you, I was semi-conservative sexually when I was younger, just because I don't know.
I don't think we don't know ourselves, right? I think we grow into our confidence. And I think
part of it too was being conscious about my body. So I couldn't really let go and enjoy the moment with whoever I was with. And when I decided to let go and be like, maybe I'm going to try that. That's not so bad. I'll tell you, honey, it opened up a whole new world that I will never go back to being conservative anymore. People are worried about cellulite and sagging boobs and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, listen, this is the package you asked for. And it's good stuff here.
Enjoy.
So regardless if there's cellulite or hanging boobs, you're going to have a good time. And remember that nothing lasts forever. And that means the good and the bad. So when you're in a bad situation and you feel like you're alone and you feel like you're never going to get out of it, remember it doesn't last forever. Or when you have this amazing feeling with, someone that you're with or a specific situation, embrace it and enjoy it for everything that it is, because that won't last forever either. Yeah. So I really look at both of those situations, making sure that I focus on the now and embrace whatever is.
It's so good. I see a book there. Not to add more to your list.
Yeah, I'm taking a little break right now before anything else happens. Yeah.
And so you should. And I think that's an interesting thing even to talk about too in this discussion about reinvention and growth, is something that I have learned through taking some baby steps and some massive action. Some things you can't do in a small way. Moving to a new city, you either do or you don't. It's a massive action, right? It is. And I didn't realize how exhausting and tiring growth is. Mm-hmm. And that it's, and to expect that, and then to give yourself moments of calm, reprieve, and just, you can stay where you are and sort of regroup.
Yeah. And I think that the thing about growth is that, people are so nervous to go through the hard stuff about growth. I started this blog called Uncomfortable Bliss, and it's all about embracing the uncomfortable to be where you want to be, because that growth and change is going to be challenging and uncomfortable, but at the end of it, it's this awesome stuff that you're going to love. And so people have a hard time going through that stuff. When I was separating from my partner, I was speaking to this lovely, lovely man called David Lewis Pert. And I picked up the phone. He barely knew me. We just knew each other from circles, and he listened to me for 2 hours cry and say, why is me, or woe is me. And one of the best pieces of advice he gave me was to say, make sure that when you are going through this grieving process, that you feel it, that you walk through the crap. Don't cover it up with alcohol. Don't cover it up with sex. Don't cover it up with another partner, because that's what we do.
We do. We numb.
Feel
We
the
numb.
pain, right?
Yeah.
He says, make sure you go through it. Have support from people. Sure you can, but feel it and go through it, or you're never going to be okay when you come out of the other side. You go through it. When you do come out the other side, you'll feel clean, you'll feel ready, you'll feel to go. And I literally, for at least a year and a half, made sure I felt it. I didn't cover it up with alcohol or sex or another partner. I just enjoyed myself, which we often don't do.
We don't. And there's so much of even what you shared in terms of the 6 steps to reinvention that you shared with us already. In that, like, nothing lasts forever, where you were talking about recognizing and feeling and being present and mindful in the good, but that also does mean recognizing and being mindful of the shit too.
Of course.
It's interesting you comment on that time in your life as well. Like I had a mantra that got me through the 2 years leading up to me separating from my now ex-husband. And at that time in my life, I had a 45-minute commute to work. Mm-hmm. So it was always on the way home from work. I took my wedding rings off and I put them at a place in the car. And I cried on the way home from work. Like, no one knew this. No one knew I was going through this at all. I didn't tell anyone, despite the fact I've got a great relationship with my mom and my sister. I couldn't. And all I said to myself was, feel the feels. Might not make sense to someone else, but it was feel the feels and trust the process. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And trust the process is a phrase that I've heard so many times before, and it used to annoy the fuck out of me, to be quite frank.
I know. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. But in that moment, it's like I needed to kind of ground myself in something, and it meant something to me then. It's like I didn't know what this journey, what these next steps were going to look like. Mm-hmm. I just knew that as long as I was being true and honest and really feeling all of this crap, that I would trust myself, that I would know what the next right step would be.
Yes.
And the spaciousness that came with that was huge. I wasn't trying to force a certain outcome, and I don't think that we allow ourselves to do that enough. We're grasping and grabbing and so oriented towards the outside stuff to create the inner happiness. Yeah. And it took me to 40 to, figure all that out. So I find it really fascinating how there are a lot of women. Maybe I just talk more with women, so I'm hearing more of women's stories. But I also think we're at an interesting time in society where women are being empowered to use their voices, because we've always had a voice. We're being empowered to use it, and others are being encouraged to listen.
Well, and I think also there's this time of women supporting each other a lot more as well, and there's still some learning to go there, because sometimes people don't want to work with the competitor because they don't want to lose their audience, or they don't want to share their secrets, or they feel like if they collaborate with someone, then they're going to shine over them. And there's room for everybody, right? And we talked about this, not everyone is going to resonate with me and my experiences, and that's okay. And because I don't resonate with everyone and their experiences, and that is okay. So I think we're at a really interesting time where women are really learning how to support each other more, rather than being like this more. And I think we have some time to go, but I think it's a perfect time to be able to not be embarrassed about the stuff that we go through, because everybody goes through it. When I was younger, I thought everybody's life was perfect. I didn't understand that people got divorced, and I thought everything was Young and the Restless. Why not? I don't know. And so my parents got divorced when I was 17, 18 years old, and it was so weird for me, because I thought, like, this happens in real life, and then it happened to me. And I was really devastated by the process when my parents got divorced, and there was a lot of hatred and stuff going on there. And now that I've gone through it,
Right.
I realized they were just people, regular people going through crap, living their life just like I was going through. But all that to say, it's an interesting time for women, and I like to see us supporting each other more rather than, you know, banging our heads against each other, not wanting to support each other.
I totally agree with you. And I've mentioned this before to you. I truly believe in collaboration over competition.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Collaboration over competition.
Yeah.
So you have started, even in this conversation that we've been having now for 20 minutes, to open up about some pretty stuff. Like I know in your blog, which captured me from the very, from the very first piece that I read, it was introduced, it introduces you. So I'd encourage listeners to check out Michelle's blog, which is uncomfortablebliss.com. You share all sorts of things, including, I think it's the most recent one, about what you wish you knew before beginning your insemination journey. I have not read that one, so I'd be interested to hear the lowdown on that, first of all. And also, like, why share that? I love that you do. But you're hoping people get what out of your sharing, right? This really raw stuff.
Because, you know, it's kind of like I think that when people think about having a child, they think it's going to be like a Huggies commercial. Right? You're running after them and you're excited and everything is exciting and they're cute and they go to bed on time and they're good night. And when you're a first time new parent, I think we're a little naive thinking, no matter how many times people say, you better sleep now, you better do this, you can't be prepared for parenthood, especially the first time. It's like a Mack truck hits, right? And so through this specific blog post where it's called What I Wish I Had Learned or Knew Before I Was Inseminated, was because, a lot of people think it's going to be a romantic, high five, people talking to you at the clinic and, oh, tell us about your story and, you're healthy and you're young. So it should, no, it's none of that. It's very robotic. It's very emotionalist. They kind of
clinical. Like it's clinical.
Very clinical. Yeah. And I guess it has to be,
yeah.
But I was just naive. I was thinking, someone's going to want to sit with me and say, oh, so tell me about your story. And every time I would go in, they'd be like, how you feeling? And, oh, it's none of that. It's, okay, what's your name? Okay, go in there. Okay, and sometimes it's a different doctor who does you every time. You don't know who's going to come in and inseminate you.
Wow.
Like, so if you're there 20 times, you could have 20 different doctors.
Wow.
That are between your legs, right? And some of them do it differently. Some of them, it's very uncomfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It's not supposed to hurt. And so it really depends on who you get. And they literally walk in, open your legs, put it in, and then you're gone. They're like, okay, have a good day. And it's really very robotic and clinical and emotionless. And it was really unexpected for me. My journey is a little different in that, it can be very, very expensive. I'm from Quebec City. And when I started this journey in Quebec, it's free.
Wow.
It was free for anybody who had problems having children. And that included same-sex couples, of which I am. So my first couple of treatments I didn't pay for. And then the government changed and they were like, whoa, we're spending too much money on this. Stop this. And so I went for 2 more trials, which was very cheap. I literally spent $1,200 on this whole process. And it came on the 4th time. But, and I also wanted to talk about how people think because they're young and healthy, it should be fast. It's going to happen. No problem. Let me tell you something. I know people who've been trying for years and years and years, and I'm sure they're much healthier than I. They eat amazing, they exercise, they're the picture of perfect health, and they cannot figure out why they are not getting pregnant. And so I had a baby at 42. I for sure thought it was going to take me a long time. I set a time limit on it of 1 year because it's a quite emotional process. And I wanted people to know, you know what? You are not in control.
Yeah.
Your body is going to do what it wants to do, no matter how much you think you're the picture of perfect health. And then lastly, it's just that it's a incredibly insane emotional roller coaster that you do not expect. It takes over every aspect of your life. And I literally mean it takes over your life. You can't think about anything else. You eat it, you think it, you're in your conversations. And I didn't realize it was going to affect me that much. In fact, after my third time, I was about to end it because it was too emotional. And my fourth time, I said this was going to be it. And then the fourth time I got pregnant, which I was lucky. But I just wanted to tell this story because I think a lot of people romanticize the process and think it's going to be easy. And it's actually one of the most difficult things I've ever done.
Wow. Well, I, for one, thank you for sharing that, because while it's not something that I have gone through or will, because I have 4 boys and yeah, I'm done. So done. I'm grateful for them, but yes, beyond done. I remember when I gave birth to my first son, and I said to my husband at the time, as we were being released from the hospital, you know, I had the little guy in the little car seat, and I looked at him and said, "They're just going to let us walk out of here?" And he said, "Yeah." But we don't know what to do. And I'd never felt so unprepared for anything in my whole life. And yet it's the most important job.
I totally know that feeling.
Yeah. And so while hearing other people's stories doesn't necessarily then equip you how to change the diaper and how to know the cry and how to decipher all of these things that this little person is trying to teach us. No. But what it does do is at least makes you feel like to expect it.
Yes.
That you're not out of your mind and you're not alone.
Well, this is it. And I think that, you know, I had the exact same feeling. I was like, what if I don't know what to do? And you just end up learning along the way and you make mistakes. And I know I've made some mistakes. And you know, someone told me, I said, when does parenting get easier? And they were like, it actually doesn't get easier. You just get better. So I kind of try to remember that every stage has its own, every stage has its own challenges, knowing that everyone has been new at this and they figure it out, and you have support systems and they help you figure it out. So, you know, I have a daughter who just turned 2 a few months ago, and every day I'm still trying to figure it out.
So can I tell you another truth, or would you rather not hear the truth?
No, I want to hear the truth. I'm scared.
That person who said you just, you know, that you just get better, you don't really figure it out, you just get better or whatever that was.
She's lying?
Well, you kind of do, but by the time you get better, the child is in another stage that you've never been a parent of before. So it's kind of like, your first one is a bit of a, you know, you cross the fingers and you do your best. That's been my experience anyway. You just think, oh yeah, I got the hang of it. They're in this routine now. I'm a total badass. I'm rocking at this. And then they change. And then you're like, what the hell? What do I do now?
You thought you had it.
I had it. Yeah. That continues because this is the first time I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old.
Oh, that's right.
I know what to do with the other ones because my eldest has been there.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with a 15-and-a-half-year-old, so we're just still winging it.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
is it fun?
Is it fun?
Yes. Well, I always ask people, you know, what is the easiest stage or the hardest stage? And I always think they're going to say the newborn, but people rarely say newborn. A lot of people actually tell me being a teenager has been very difficult for them.
Yeah, so far, I mean, don't get me wrong. It has its moments, and we're still young, early in that stage, right? We've got 15, 14, and twins that are 13. So we are just at the beginning of that. The only thing that so far I've struggled with is how they have become almost, especially more so the 15-year-old and the 14-year-old is starting this too, is becoming a little Neanderthal-like in their speech. Do you remember how to speak the language, or are you just going to communicate in grunts? But aside from that, I mean, they're lovely. I have really enjoyed, since the kids are really close in age, so I've really enjoyed it once they were more capable of like wiping their own bums, wiping their own snotty noses, and I can go to the washroom on my own and drink my coffee when it's hot. Since then, I truly have enjoyed every stage. I really, really, really have. But up until then, not so much.
Well, yeah, no, and this is such a good, I could talk about this all the time, because this is a conversation that women don't have. They like to act like, as soon as I saw the baby, it was wonderful. Like, we are all grateful for our children.
Of course, yeah.
But I could do without year one. I could do without it. And, I have to be honest, I think the first few months, I questioned my ability to parent.
Yeah.
Because you're so tired and you have no idea what you're doing. I question if I made the right decision, because I'm going to raise this child and I can barely stay awake.
Yep.
And I look at pictures of her now and video of her, and I get emotional about it because it's tough.
Yeah.
That I didn't fully embrace that moment of when she was born, because I was just trying to get by.
Yeah.
I was just trying to live.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, no matter how many times someone tells you it's going to be this, you can't fully appreciate it until you are that new parent.
Yeah.
And no one ever talks about it. Everyone acts like they're okay.
I know, it's true.
I see people with 5 kids. Oh my God, I love my 5 kids and everything's wonderful. But no one ever talks about the shitty stuff, because there's shitty stuff. Why don't we ever talk about it?
Somehow.
The first few months, I tell you, I questioned if I made the right decision. I questioned if I could do it. And then you just realize it's the uncomfortable newness.
Yeah.
The challenge.
The uncomfortable.
And I think to myself, people do it every day. You only have one. And then you slowly get better. And you just kind of go day by day. And so I really appreciate this time now where she's talking and interactive and she's more independent. I love this time. But I tell you, the first 6 months were tough. And no one ever wants to admit that. They want to admit that they had it all together. And I had nothing together, Louise. I had nothing together.
I so appreciate you being open about that, because with our listeners, whether they can relate with that specific story like I can, or they relate to that feeling, different story but same feeling about something that's happened in their lives, I really feel like it's due to a lack of vulnerability and openness and sharing. That's what isolates us and makes us feel worse, because that's what gets that loud inner critic. Why are you not enjoying this right now? You've tried, you've been inseminated, 4 inseminations. You should be grateful and thankful that this baby is happy and healthy in here. And there are other people who've been trying for years and never have a baby. Yeah. Let those voices become so loud. And I had other voices as well, after my twins were born. So, because I don't just want to be pointing at you here in terms of, I had 3 children under the age of 2, and I was crying all the time. I didn't know. I didn't feel like I was a good mom. I didn't feel like I was a good partner. I didn't feel like I was a good anything. and I questioned everything. And I felt guilty that other people were trying to have babies. And when I took the kids to the mall, because that's the only place I could go.
That's right.
And
what was your best friend?
Yeah. And people will come to me and say, this is, what a joy. And inside I was screaming, just saying, this is not, like, someone please see that I'm not okay. I am not okay. And this is why I feel so connected to what it is that you're doing, Michelle. And I so appreciate that you can, be raw with your words as well as the emotion that you're sharing right now, because this is real life. This is real life, friends. Like, seriously. And this is where I think that women need women and men need men, and we all need to support each other. But there's something unique about women being open and sharing and supporting one another during these tough, really raw moments of life.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And you really hit the nail on the head. You go through that guilt feeling of, you had 3 kids, and people would probably think, Louise, like, you're so lucky you were able to have 3 kids. And there's some people who can't have kids. So you go through that guilt of feeling like I should be grateful.
Yeah.
And this doesn't mean I'm not grateful, but I'm having a tough time. And how come nobody's talking about it?
Yeah.
And it makes you feel alone.
Makes you feel alone. Yeah.
And so this is what I hope to share in my blog as well. These experiences that nobody wants to talk about, but also showing that through these experiences, these challenges, this is what makes you grow and have all the great stuff that comes out on the other side.
And you have a particular market, should I say, a particular segment of the population that you have a super strong connection to. At the end of the day, I know your message resonates with anyone who's ready to be real. But I know that your message, there's a certain audience that you'd like to reach. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm a woman of color, as you can see, and if you can't see, now you know. And I'm a queer woman of color. So statistically, I should be the poorest person on the planet. And as I got further and further in my career, I learned that working for corporate was not where I wanted to be. And I started working a lot more for not-for-profits and community organizations, because I am the underdog and I want to support the underdog. So my audience is primarily marginalized women, women who are approaching middle age, the LGBT community, because nobody talks about that. And I don't see anybody like me who has the experience that I've had, and I wanted to talk about it because I think there's someone out there who can resonate with that. And so just like we were talking about before, there might be a huge audience of people that do not resonate with me, and that's okay. I'm not here to resonate with everybody. But for those who do resonate with me, I hope that my stories can inspire and perhaps give them to courage to take on a challenge that will help change their life so they can live how they've always wanted to live. We've had this conversation before, Louise. One of my biggest fears in life is being on my deathbed with regret. Laying there saying, oh my God, I wish I did this, and why didn't I do this? And all these things that I want to do just because I was lazy, or I felt nervous to do it, or I was worried about what other people think. That's a big thing. That's a big reason why a lot of people don't do what they want to do, because they're so nervous about what other people are going to think of them. So you either get over that and live your life the way you want to and love it, or you're on your deathbed dying with regret. Which one do you want? Get over it. And a lot of the times we are standing in our own way
Oh, absolutely. I say that often. Like our biggest barrier is between our ears.
Of course, it's nobody else. We think it is, but it's not. It's us. And so, that's one of the things when I was launching this blog and I was going through this process because, it took me over a year to get this thing out of my head and actually on paper, was getting out of my own way and thinking, what are people going to think? What I want to talk about, really being clear with my goals, and you helping me figure out, okay, be clear and be authentic. That's one of my biggest pieces of advice to people. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever your message is to be authentic. So I work for the underdog in my day job. I work for the underdog with my private clients, because nobody pays attention to us and nobody cares about us. So if I don't, then who will?
I'm glad that we have lots of time still to talk, but that would have been a kick-ass way to end the show.
Sorry. Let's see.
Wow.
Let's find something else to end the show, and maybe I'll come up with something else interesting.
Boom! Boom! And those watching on Facebook can see, pow is my t-shirt.
I know. Give it to them.
Whoa! And I chose that t-shirt for you today because that's what I think of when I think of you. So you've talked to us a little bit about the beginning of your reinvention. Talk to us a little bit about, because I think we need to give huge shout out to your partner, but tell us about how that all came to be and how the move happened. Talk to us a bit about that period of this reinvention.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So one of the items on my list in my 40 by 40 blog, the first blog that I had, was travel on your own. And so I said, I'm going to do this one. This is a fun one. So I booked a trip. I went on it on my own. It was a trip to Punta Cana. And my now partner was there. And how we met there was, we were with talking with some people, and she was with her friend. My partner is Quebecois. She's Francophone, and her friend didn't speak English. So she said to her friend, we have to go and meet people, or we're going to be by ourselves this whole trip and we're not going to meet anybody. So she actually came over to me and some of the people that we were talking to, and she said, hey, can we sit and talk to you guys and get to know you? And she wasn't specifically coming up to me, just the group of people that I was talking to. And then, by the end of the trip, I was feeling her out because I knew that in my life, the next partner I was going to be with had to want to have a child. Okay. And so I was feeling her out to see if I was just going to sleep with her, or if I was going to try to pursue something different. And I'm going to be real about it. I was actually just going to
say to you, were you feeling her up or feeling her out? But I wasn't going to go there, but you took it there.
Both. I was doing both. And so we met on vacation, and when we went back home, she came over to visit me a couple of weeks later, and then she surprised me with flight tickets to come and visit her a couple of weeks later. And then we kept going back and forth, and then we had to sit down and have a conversation and say, you know what, when you visit someone, when you're dating someone and they live in different places, it always feels like a vacation because, right, you're always excited to see them. And then I said, I want to live with you to see what you're like and if I really like you. Yeah. And then we can make the decision to see if we're going to be together. I moved into her place for about a year. I subletted my place in Toronto. I didn't leave any of my furniture or anything because if it didn't work out, I wanted to have a place to go back to. And then it worked out, and now I'm here. And, I think about, in true lesbian style, we had a baby a year or so later. Like, I don't know if you know this about lesbians, Louise, but they make jokes, and we always talk about U-Haul. What did you do on the second date? You got a U-Haul, because lesbians are so known for getting so serious so fast. It's true.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so it's like we want to move in. Like, you're the one I've been waiting for forever on day 2, right? And so And then so I moved to Quebec, and I have to say it hasn't been easy. Quebec City is very different than Montreal. Montreal, you can speak English. Quebec City, you can't. You have to know how to speak French. So I had to go back to school. I didn't know any French, and I learned how to speak French so I could live and participate in this life in Quebec City. And I had to figure out how I was going to use the skills that I had developed over my years of living in Toronto and how I was going to use it here. I had to essentially rebrand myself and figure out how to be me in this space where Quebec City is in the process of integration right now. They're not hugely inclusive because immigration is new. So you don't know what you don't know. And so I'm like a novelty here, very much a novelty here, especially since I speak English and I'm Black. They're just like, that's not making any sense. A lot of people don't believe that I'm born in Canada because apparently you can't be a Black person and born in Canada.
Different and so different from Toronto.
Well, it's very different. Well, of course, but it really upset me at the beginning. I'm just like, Toronto's so multicultural. How can you not? But they don't know what they don't know. Literally, immigration here is like 10 years old, 15 years old, maximum. Toronto.
So another thing, it was a culture shock. So there was a lot of shocks. There were a lot of shocks to your system.
Oh, I have shocks still every day. Absolutely. And so that's difficult. And then when you have a child and you're not near your family, that's been difficult too. Yeah. But I'm realizing that home is where I put my hat.
Yeah.
So my home doesn't define where my address is. So I'm learning to live at home with my family because I love them and everything that is here, not because I have a condo in Quebec City. And so reinventing myself I will tell everybody, it's not an easy process. You need support. I didn't do this on my own. I'm not even gonna act like this was all me. If I didn't have the support of my partner and my family, I could not do this process. And people think you're strong if you can do it on your own. No, you're not. You're crazy. Use the support of your family and friends to get to where you want to go.
I think that's such an important message. I really, really do. There's so many reasons why that's important. And I think we do live in a society where, whether it's work or personal life, that you have to do things on your own to get ahead. Otherwise, it's a sign of weakness.
Well, I agree. Yeah, like especially in my 20s, I wanted to be the one, right? And show I could do this on my own. But this is why it's such an awesome time now in my 40s where I feel the most powerful because I can't speak about this stuff. I couldn't speak about this stuff unless I went through the shit. And you don't go through all of that in your 20s and 30s. You got to live a little and go through crap and then talk about it. And so support with people and asking for help is such a big deal and it's so important. So anybody who wants to reinvent themselves or redesign their life, ask for help. Don't be afraid to. Can I want to move to Alberta. Can you help me? Do you have any resources?
Where would I start? Right? Like ask someone, where would you start?
And let's talk about it. I speak French now. I would never do a presentation in French. I wouldn't say my French is advanced, but I speak French. I have conversations in French and it's still a daily practice for me. And, people all the time say, how did you do it, Michelle? I don't know. Practice, just like anything. You practice being independent, practice networking, just practice. And is it hard at my age? Sure is. It's hard. So I don't want to give people the picture that, oh my God, she did this so easily and in less than 5 years. And oh my God, no, it wasn't easy. And I had a lot of help.
It wasn't easy. You had a lot of help and you were very driven and you knew why you were doing it.
Yeah.
And I think, and you've been honest with yourself, I think, through the process. I think those are really, there's so many keys to this being, working out for you. But I like how you shared that too, because we go to your website and it looks like you've got all your shit together. At everyone's site, well, most people's sites, right, have it, whether it's Instagram, websites, we think that they've got all their shit together. But that too was a process to get there. So I love just how raw and open you are in sharing that.
Thank you.
So we're starting to, get to the end of the show, and I really want to understand now that you're here, what does success look like for you in your life?
Happiness. Success for me is happiness. I can't express it in any other way. I don't want to express it and say, for my work to be here, or my blog to be here, or my personal life to be here. Success for me is happiness in whatever I'm doing and wherever I am. And so if I'm happy in that space and stay present in the moment as much as possible, that is huge success for me, because I went through a period of time of depression in my 20s where people would have thought that I was happy. I was in the best shape of my life. I had a great job, and blah, blah, blah. I looked great, or I thought I looked great. And I was the saddest person. And so now I get to do what I want to do, and I do it on my own terms. And I'm so happy about that. So I feel hugely successful in my life right now, hugely.
And at that, I'd like to thank you. Thank you so much for all that you've shared with me today, your time, and sharing so open with our listeners. Once again, you can find Michelle at uncomfortablebliss.com. And where can they find you on Instagram, Michelle?
On Instagram, I am uncomfortable_bliss. So I hope to connect with some of you. Louise, this was so much fun. Let's do it again.
I'm glad. Maybe this can be a regular thing, right?
Yes, let's make it happen.
And we'll get some callers calling in.
Yeah, we'll do a theme every month and talk some good stuff.
I think that sounds good. Yeah. So thanks again, Michelle, for all that you've brought to me and to our show today.
Thanks, Louise.
You're welcome. And I also, as always, want to thank all of you, my loyal listeners and followers, and remind you that information about my radio show and my guests, as well as my coaching services, can be found at louisehreed.com. Also, a big shout out and lots of love to my producer, Cameron Steele at Contact Talk Radio Network. And finally, I'm here to highlight and showcase people like Michelle who are taking brave, bold action, whose actions have a positive impact in our world. With that said, I'd like to encourage you all to be brave, be bold, and be happy. And in the words of Michelle, don't be a victim, be victorious. Until next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm Louise H. Reed, wishing you all an amazing